Mavis Bramston Show starts again tonight.
That rubbish, we're not going to watch that.
Tonight, we celebrate the 30th birthday of a TV superstar. This is the Mavis Bramston 30th Anniversary Special. You'll see an outrageous lineup of unforgettable characters, black and white bloopers, and classic sketch comedy not seen for 30 years, with special appearances by Garry McDonald, Andrew Denton, Keiren Perkins, Toni Pearen, Dieter Brummer, the big Girls Blouse, plus the stars who joined in the mayhem, June Salter, Johnny Lockwood, Hazel Phillips, Noeline Brown and Bryan Davies. So hang on to your hat, Mavis is back.
The year 1965. A plague of insects invades the Western world. France discovers a new way to grow mushrooms. In the US, drought-affected areas are brought welcome relief, while hordes of young Australians set off on a goodwill tour of Asia. Meanwhile, back in Australia, a new scourge is sweeping the country. People everywhere cancel appointments and rush home to satisfy their dreadful craving for the Mavis Bramston Show.
And so it's welcome, welcome, welcome. How do you do? Hello. Sit back, relax, forget your income tax. We'll give you all the pertinent facts. Here's Mavis, Lord Mavis, Mavis.
Welcome indeed. I'm Amanda Keller, and it's my pleasure tonight to take you on a trip into Australian television history. 30 years ago this week, Channel 7 put together the mother of all sketch comedy, the Mavis Bramston Show. The 60s was the era of satirical revue, and many of the actors and writers came direct from Sydney's Phillip Street Theatre, where nothing was sacred. Phillip Street already had a reputation for getting stuck into sacred cows, and Mavis was about to do it on TV. The original cast, Gordon Chater, Barry Creyton and Carol Raye, were new to our screens, but they were to become three of the biggest stars the industry had ever seen. And maybe for the first time, Australians learned to laugh at themselves.
A considerable amount of world dissension is
Caused by a deplorable lack of communication, which
we feel could be remedied by togetherness, togetherness. There should be more togetherness. Warm and cozy, the world's made rosy by togetherness. And here is the news.
Our man on the waterfront informs us that the wharfies have coined some endearing names for their workmates. One is called London Fog because he never lifts. Another is called Martin Place because he's always full at lunchtime. And then there's Big Ben, who always knows when to strike.
we've just finished all the business about the contraceptive pill, and they popped this fertility one on us. It's all so confusing. The only thing to do is, before you go to bed, take one of each.
An aerodynamics expert has warned that strong winds could play havoc with the Sydney Opera House. Oh, that'll be nice, getting the wind up right in the middle of their Toscas.
Well, Hip, what brought you to Binalong?
The spirit of progress.
You must be thirsty. Step up to the bar and get yourself a drink.
Okay, Kitty, that's a bonzer idea.
What'll it be?
A schooner of sweet sherry with a dash of ginger.
Tell me, Hipster, what have you been doing with yourself?
Oh, I just brought a mob in from Victoria.
Oh, sheep?
Kangaroos.
Sweet sherry coming up.
Oh, I missed it. Any chance for game?
No, I don't go off till 10.
Anyway, on with the quiz now. I pop the categories into the boxes here, and then we're all set to give them a twirl. Are you ready, Fred?
Yeah, let them go.
We're sorry about that, Fred. Is there anything we can do?
Oh, well, now I'm stripped. I think you can knock me down to the rehearsal.
Let's try and win the money first, eh? Right now, Fred, I have your category here, and it's, let me see, current affairs.
Oh, and here's Fred's question.
Gordon was never afraid of taking chances. And I think that's what made the show such an instant success, the fact that he was bold, he was brave, he took risks that no other actor I knew would take, and he continued to do so through his entire career. Sometimes he would save something that he hadn't rehearsed, like some rather spectacular makeup to spring on me during the taping when we had an audience in front of us and I'd never seen it before. I remember one in particular, he was doing Jack Frost, who was the organizer of the Winter Sports or something in Australia, and he'd added icicles to his nose, which looked particularly disgusting. And I had great difficulty keeping my po face during that one.
Scene. It's a typical English summer's day, ice everywhere. And in the trees, the polar bears are singing to the seals, while down the glade, the little penguins are romping in the undergrowth. Into this typical medieval scene, I enter on my Honda.
Well, Jack, I don't think I've ever seen Robin Hood presented like that.
Oh, there's more to come. Oh. As I skate to a halt, I whip out me ice-encrusted horn, and as if the stage comes alive with the merry men as they drive out of the trees in their 15 Mr. Whippy vans, all singing. Oh, they're all singing Green Sleeves.
It was 1964 when I arrived in Australia, and Australia was miles from Europe. Certain people travelled, but when you think now how sophisticated we are, our city of Sydney is very sophisticated, everybody travels, and if you don't have the money to travel, you see other things happening around the world, you see on other television shows and radio, you see what is going on in the rest of the world. So we're a very different society now than we were in 1964.
Attendez la nuit.
Oh, I'm sure that wasn't right, or whatever's the French for toilet.
Oh, toilette! Lavabo! Oui, oui!
Oui, oui! Eh bien, bonjour. Oh, pardonnez-moi, monsieur. Mais est-il possible que vous êtes étranger? Ah oui, je suis étranger. Je suis australien actuellement.
Mais non. Je suis Australienne aussi.
Vous n'êtes pas. Vous êtes comme une Leroy prawn avec moi.
Ah non. Où livez-vous?
Oh, je live à Woy-Woy.
There was a natural tendency in intimate review in those days to make it campy, to make it, to do in-jokes, to do jokes for the cognoscenti, people around town who knew the people you were sending up or the shows you were sending up. And I think this moved over into television. When we realized we were going to go national, we had to broaden the scope of what we were doing. But somehow the campiness, I think, remained, and I think it was always to the great advantage of the show. I think it gave it a fun edge. We were like a family, and I think that was pretty much apparent in all of the shows we did.
Good morning. Avon calling. You're looking very lovely this morning.
Just hang on a sec, mate. I'll see if the white's in.
And I'm sure you will agree with me that all my creations are... Naughty boy. Naughty boy. You will all agree with me that all my creations are truly arresting. And since wearing them, all our boys have been arrested.
Well, good evening.
Fred Jackson. I work professionally under the name of Jockstrip.
I'll call you Fred.
That's right, mate.
Fred, may I say that you're looking particularly nice tonight?
Cheeky!
But you actually are a man, Fred.
Yes, it's hard to believe, but under this veneer of beauty and radiance, I am a mere male, yes.
Tell me, have you ever been mistaken for a woman to the extent of being asked out by a man?
Oh, several times.
And does it worry you?
Oh, well, it did at first. I felt romance fading away. Of course, it can be very embarrassing if you're walking through the cross and you get mistaken for a loose woman. Shocking. I mean, the money they're offering these days is ridiculous.
Knowing you probably like little women. No, but Brian, my first best friend likes little women. I like big women. Brian likes little fat women, but I like big thin women. But I like little fat men. That's why you're my second best friend. That Buddy is my third best friend, and if you don't shut up, I'll ram this book right down your throat!
Mavis Bramston's Funny Bits was one of the influences of my life.
Who the hell is Mavis Bramston?
Hello, Australia. Mavis here.
So who the hell was Mavis Bramston? What did she have that changed Australian viewing habits for all time? Take a look. A vampy cocktail queen with a wicked attitude. Would you stay home for her? You're looking at Maggie Dence, and she was one of a number of actors who played the role. That of a second-rate, imported British celebrity. The character, Mavis Bramston, was never supposed to appear in her own show. The joke was that she did such a bad audition, they cancelled her contract. It's not hard to see why.
I only know when he danced with me, I could have danced.
We did our first 6 programs in Canberra and Sydney, and they were all live to air, and it was a success. And then Ampol came onto the scene and sponsored us. We went national after the Christmas break. And then Ampol very much wanted a sort of logo, a person who would represent the show and also open petrol stations all over the country. And Noeline, by this time, had gone to London. And so the lovely Maggie Dence was recruited to play Mavis Bramston.
British doctors have warned that accidents can follow if women wear tight, panty girdles. Darlings, I'm more worried about the accidents that might follow if I didn't.
You're an exponent of voodoo.
Yes, I do the voodoo that I do so well.
I suppose you're a medium as well.
Oh, darling, Mavis is more than medium. She's well done.
You fellows are talking about the girl I love, Mavis Bramston.
Gordon Chater is one of the greatest comic actors this country has seen. His presence in the early Mavis shows was one of the highlights. He was a master of sketch comedy and gutsy, full-on slapstick. I'm sorry Gordon can't be with us tonight. He's unwell. So we send our best to you on the Gold Coast, Gordon. Australia thinks of you with great affection. Let's take a look at Gordon Chater in action.
Not made.
And what is more, that and that.
Excuse me, sir. I have to inform you the Gato Leslie's off.
So am I. I'll never speak to you again. Never.
Well, now may I take your order now, sir?
Thank you. I think we've had everything.
When
That's right, give me the ball. Yeah, fine, yeah. Now, the great thing is to keep your feet very steady, then off with the left foot. 1, 2, 3. Oh, Nick, let me back.
Oh, I've broken me back. We'll have to get the property master to bring me a new bow. Thank you very much indeed. Oh, that's a pretty one. Pretty safe, isn't it? Very yes, what'd you say? What'd you say? Well, now, you just aim, you see. You side the bull and fire. This is it. You side the bull and fire. Bullseye.
Nice hat. Alcohol acting has always been staggeringly popular with comics, sometimes both during and after a performance. Although the show was never scared to face the darker side of alcohol abuse, we couldn't resist showing a selection of vintage Bramston drunks, which were obviously the result of years of hard practice.
Having selected one bottle, it is important that you open the wine carefully so as to reduce... You've done that, Marcel. Yes, he's done that. Well, now, then you have to tap the cork for freshness and bouquet. You hold the wine up to the light, you see, and then you just swallow a little...
That's awfully nice. Thank you, charming. And tell me, what is Marcel's comment on this wine?
1965. It's hemlines up and necklines down, and Mavis has the big tips on fashion.
Now, this girl has the op-art look in vinyl, black and white. She looks like something you'd imagine if you'd been on the grog all night. But as far as a garment is concerned, it's really a bit of a drag. I haven't saved myself for years to marry a plastic bag.
Stretch bra you were telling me about? Yes, it's a placing, living stretch bra, and it's so comfortable. Does the elastic stretch out? Do you know I've machine washed this bra at least 50 times in detergent and bleach, and it still stretches like mad. Here, try it.
I gave up on marriage, darling, then I started watching Mavis.
The Mavis Bramston Show went to air with a live audience. Some of these guys made it a habit to come to the studios every week. Regular Mavis groupies. The show was huge back then, so let's hear from some of the current crop of comedians to find out how it holds up today.
I think that a lot of the women who were in the shows then have sort of built the ground that we've all trodden on. They laid the foundation.
I think their work's pretty similar, or their style is quite similar to us. Like Noeline Brown is a girl after my own heart.
You look a little Noeline Brown.
Yes, and life is full of Vesta situations. I think the wry sense of humour, the Australian sort of sense of humour was so there, and I think that's a really Australian sort of female thing, that sort of deadpan or sort of wry sense of humour that Australian women have, and
they were certainly
suburban women.
They were very strong, and they did sketches on their own, and they weren't always the foil for the men.
They weren't just sort of doing clipboard holder roles, that sort of thing. They were doing characters in their own right, which is puts them in a very strong position.
Of what you mean to me, something inside me snaps. Don't awfully cold and afraid. Oh, where are you now? I only wish I knew. Oh, what a trick you've played.
It must be the sawdust off the meat counter.
For me, watching Bramston was seeing Gordon Chater doing all those. I wanted to be Gordon Chater. And I didn't turn out to be Gordon Chater, unfortunately. I mean, when you're taping a TV show and you make a mistake and you then say some ad lib off it, you actually sort of practically fall out of character, you know. The audience do, they absolutely fall about. And I guess they love the spontaneity of it. And I mean, that was one of the great things in that show. And that is one of the things about going live, that you just have to do something with the situation, whatever. I mean, not necessarily a fantastically funny line, because who thinks like that? You know, some people do, some people are brilliant like that, but it's just that capitalising on it in some way. I think you feel the adrenaline.
And do you kill all of your bulls this way?
Of course not. I am artiste. Oh, my motto is the...
Variety?
Variety is the spice of death. Yes. You got me out of that one. Corrida, ole.
Yes, now, Ricardo, could we get back to the script?
If I can remember it, yes.
The Indian rope trick.
I'm trying to get off this nail.
Yes. Well, after you get off, you can show us. After you get off your nail, you can show us
It's in a very awkward place.
There are quite a few items which are still relevant to today. Obviously, politicians, commercial setups. There was a drought then, can you believe it? They ripped off our idea from this year. Murdoch and Packer. Pollution on beaches. Actually, Murdoch, Packer and pollution on beaches are very closely related. You probably didn't know that.
Water restrictions have been very severely enforced. And of course, as a commodity becomes more scarce, so its price rises. And water is no exception to that rule.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's very unassuming. What is that, Warrengamba 63? Oui, oui.
And the 9-year drought appears to be over. We wonder how long it'll be before this happens.
Looks like we've lost a lot.
I think we'll be all right, but...
Pity about the sanitary arrangements, don't you?
Yeah, there she goes now. Nicest dunny on the darling bed.
3-holer it was, too.
Mavis, she still owes me money. And in the world of Pope music, Paul and the guys launched his latest top 10 rocker, Arrivederci Roma, while Mavis pushed her own brand of religion.
Hear what a busy mother has to say about homo.
Oh, yes. Here at the convent, I have several grubby little nuns to look after. But since using new homo, I have found that all my dirty habits are clean again.
I want to tell you a little story
A little story about a ship of sin that launched out on a Sunday over the waters of the world. But that ship is sure to sink. And why will it sink? Because it has a hole in its bottom. And I wonder how many of us here tonight...
Yes, it's here, the new exciting 68 Pope. You'll love the new extra features, the new look, and there's 3 years guarantee and free installation. So make sure you've got a Pope in your garden.
What time's Mavis?
No worries. I've already set the video.
When Bramston went to air, shopkeepers pleaded with Channel 7 to change the show's time slot. Everything came to a stop. Theatres, late-night shopping. On a Wednesday night, you couldn't even throw a party. Everyone was at home watching Mavis. Now, of course, these famous faces were far too young to have watched it when it went to air. So we gave them a very exclusive private screening. This is what they thought.
I think Mavis's view of sport was so funny because everybody's had a funny sporting experience. You know, everybody's involved, whether it's been a terrible day on the golf course or you've been out having a run and fallen over. You know, everybody's had some sort of funny experience with sport. And Mavis was able to bring that to life and bring the best out of it so that everybody could relate to it in the funny way that Mavis put it.
Tell me, are you also a lifesaver?
Oh, yes, I am, yes.
And have you ever rescued anybody?
Yes, just recently I rescued a young girl from being molested.
What did you do?
I'll control myself.
What is this?
Oh, that's my 2-iron.
Oh, and this one?
That's my 3-iron.
What's that?
That's my semen dry-iron.
Perhaps you could tell me, what is this sheet you have across your arm?
Sheet? Oh, well, when you fight the bull, you have a bull sheet.
Some Australian footballers have been having ballet training for ages, and it could lead to something like this.
What you doing this Sabo?
Oh, I'm easy.
Yeah, I know, but what you doing this Sabo? Are you playing?
Oh, no, I've asked to be an emergency. I don't want to get my body marked today of all days.
Why ever not?
Well, I'm on telly tonight, advertising those little white shorts.
I can't stand you players who hog the publicity. Still, I did it last week. I'm on Channel 7 Sports Show this afternoon. Which do you think's my best side? Here, why don't you go on the sports show? You can make yourself a few quid.
No, I simply haven't got the energy after racking all day.
I thought were quite funny, even though I hadn't seen the original ads. They came across quite well, very similar to today's send-up, say, in Fast Forward or the old, just some of the comedy shows that are on nowadays. Very similarly done. So I thought they seemed quite funny, even though I hadn't seen the ads.
This amazing Polaroid camera makes pictures in just 10 seconds. You simply aim and fire.
Hi. For rheumatic pains and shoulder or back, take Dr. Mackenzie's Menthoids. M-E-N-T-H-I-O... M-E-N-T-I-O... N-E-I-T-D-O... Here, have a coup.
No, thanks. I like an expensive tobacco in a shorter cigarette.
Can't help loving that man. He always gives me... like that.
Well, I took the tapes home to my parents' house, and I've never seen them so excited about seeing the Mavis Bramston show. They started reminiscing, they started looking back, going through all the characters' names with me, so they sat me down, we sat through the whole show, and the musical aspect of it was just hilarious.
Jane Bond, a glamorous but lethally insane blonde. So all of you men on the side of crime, watch out! In my bra I'm well equipped, dear. A pistol concealed in each cup. So they take the cue, they know what to do when I say to them, stick. I'm what you might call an experienced explosive personality. Oh, yes, and I've got 6 hand grenades tucked into my panties. I'm very quick on the drawers. What a bang.
I'm quite neurotic for things aquatic, and even now I find a sardine quite erotic. If ladies were made just like a mermaid, I'd go for Flipper. Oh, I'd love to invite him to dinner on Friday. Yes, that's my wish. 'Cause on Fridays, I always have fish.
For Santa, Surfboard Santa, I'll be true to you. Surfboard Santa, swingin', swingin' Santa, I love you.
The 60s was that dark time when Australia was involved in the conflict in Vietnam, when the British were happily testing their weapons at Maralinga, and the French were letting off nuclear bombs in the Pacific. The MAVIS BRAMSTON Show had a definite attitude to these issues and set out to raise public awareness through comedy.
Will you kindly press the button?
Yes, sir. Why me, sir?
You took the button presser's course. It's time you took your finger out. That is an order.
Yes, sir. Oh, I say so. Oh, gosh, I just remembered. It won't work without the other key.
The American key. Where the blazes is Commander Perkins?
Oh, well, he's in the...
Are you sure?
Yes.
Oh, he has no right to be in there at this time. Complete lack of planning and foresight. Commander Perkins, sir! There's another one down the corridor! Do, Howie! I'll be right out in 3 or 4 minutes. You certainly will.
I believe your organization carried out air raid drill during a simulated attack on the city last week.
Oh, yes, my men and I swung into action one lunch. We threw a cordon round the GPO. We rushed inside and got everybody to lie on the floor.
Did everybody cooperate?
Oh, with the exception of a couple of girls in stamps and parcels who gave us a bit of trouble. They wouldn't lie on the floor for anyone, they said.
Surely they realized that it was just an exercise.
Well, I don't think they realized what sort of an exercise.
A cocktail party was a very 60s way to meet people. Here we've got Ron Frazer, Noeline Brown, Ronnie Stevens, June Thodey, Barry Creyton and June Salter. Quite a lineup. Between drinks, we asked some of the cast members through the years to comment on various issues covered by the show.
At that particular time, of course, internationally there was great upheaval about apartheid and about the Ku Klux Klan and also about the White Australia policy. And indeed the whole ethnic scene, the migrants coming into this country. And every one of these was touched on, be it in a serious fashion or be it in a satirical fashion. And it was well accepted then. It made people think and it made people smile.
Sunday, a lovely morning at St. Stephen's. After which I went to collect Clem from the Domain. He was in his usual place, stuck up on his butterbox, squawking on his favourite subject, keep New Zealand white. When a Mary in the crowd hit him with some hot mud. At least I think it was hot mud.
The subject of sex on the MAVIS BRAMSTON Show must have been quite new and threatening to some people, because I do remember we got into a lot of strife with a bishop, could have been a Brisbane bishop, and he was trying to get the show stopped. And there were questions asked in the House, I believe, but the sketch that they were complaining about was one about sticking your stalks in water, which was about flower arranging. So I suppose the subject of sex, everything was innuendo.
Abdul? I'm going away for the night, Abdul.
Very well met, Master.
I'm leaving the harem in your charge.
You can depend on me, Master.
It's up to you to see that no man comes near them.
Your wish is my command, Master.
I depend on you, Abdul.
Oh, Abdul.
Coming, madam. The music.
No, not for me, thanks.
A cup of coffee.
I drink tea, thanks.
Like a nut, like a sweet, like some air, like some heat, something to eat, something to drink, something to chew. Sex.
I don't mind if I do. I found my thrill on Moody Hill. Thank God for the pill on Moody Hill.
If it weren't for the sexy bits, I'd ban the whole show.
In those days, I remember that there was no way that people would allow anything to be said really detrimental to the monarchy, and that there was an enormous outcry if there was anything said. And it was always, if people were going to England, they were going home, and it was always the mother country. And I think we were adolescent then. I think now we've grown up.
If I still had the power, you'd be locked in the tower and be held there for execution. You would die on the block for presuming to knock the sacrosanct royal institution.
Why persist in the ways of colonial days? You're a free and self-governing nation. Other countries have found there's no point being bound by imperial constipation.
But it seems that Ophelia's old man got knocked off for being a peeping Tom. So he's gone round the bend, she has. Poor kid, she had a hell of a life, she did. And she ends up chucking herself in the local creek and floating out the story. Then there's a scene where another nutcase talks to a skull in a graveyard. I'd had it by this time, I'll tell you. I don't know whether it was the grog talking or what, but I shouted out, "Bring on them dancing girls!" Everyone was shushing, and the manager finally drags me into the foyer where there was a blue. Well, I don't know if you're supposed to get a message from this story or not, but I certainly got one. Can you wonder royalties where it is today when a bunch of ratbags like that run a country?
Before it was always the gags about the Queen or the Pope or taking the mickey out of somebody. But this, we took the mickey out of subjects more than people.
Have you ever tried using greaseproof paper? Greaseproof paper? No, I can't say that I have, Ed. No? No. Not a thing I would have ever thought of using. Well, don't. Why, isn't it satisfactory, Ed? Hardly. Nearly impossible. Ah. Skids off.
Sydney's first revolving restaurant opened with a flourish last week, and of course the MAVIS BRAMSTON cameras were there to record this historic event for posterity. Ready? Positions, please.
Oh, Monsieur, I can't always get dizzy, even at Luna Park.
Miss Wagstaff, you will just have to get used to it.
Oh.
Ah, Monsieur, Madame.
Oh, look. Oh, it's my table.
Quick, quick.
Oh, no.
Jump off.
Oh, no. Wait till it comes back again.
You can't. It takes an hour and 3/4.
Oh, I knew I should have stayed and checkers.
There's nothing to it. Look.
Oh, careful. Oh, don't. Oh, wait for me. Oh.
What on earth are you doing down there? Please.
I'm just trying to get onto this thing.
Come on in. It's lovely.
The original cast were the original, and I would say the best. I was lucky to get in just at that right time. They needed somebody. At the end, though, we got a new director in. John Ewing came in, and he brought with him Reg Livermore. Now, Reg, as far as is an immense performer. He's wonderful, terrific. But they changed the show so much that we just lasted about 3 seconds.
Glad to see Mavis back with a bang? Good.
When Noel Coward visited Australia in the 60s, he saw Gordon Chater perform this next slice of Mavis and made an offer for the rights to perform it himself. But it was Gordon who made this number famous, a real showpiece. And fittingly, this was his final performance for the Mavis Bramston Show, the magic Gordon Chater.
I'm going to sing a juicy kind of song. Mavis Bramston's got me in the mood. So Charlie's going to indulge himself and have himself a ball, 'cause a little what you fancy does you good. That's why I'm mad about the soda siphon. I'm mad about soda siphon. Fiddle with the siphon, feel the soda squirt on your face, on your shirt, doesn't it? Stick it in your ear, oh, just like this. Start mad about the siphon's hit. Isn't it a funny bit, a real hit and runny bit? It's better than a water piss. Tomato, oh, oh, I'm mad about tomato. Love 'em when they're nice and ripe and juicy. Squashed on your ears, on your own. Lemon in your eye and rubbish in your ear. It's guaranteed to make it grow. Isn't it the sloshy bit, the real slip and squashy bit? I'm mad about the tomato. Mad about the new laid egg, I am. I'm mad about the new laid egg. It's better than the egg shampoo you buy. They say, in a way, crack another egg a day. Run down in front, there's a puddle on the bench, it's slower. Isn't it a sticky bit to dribble on your dicky bit? I think I better crack one. Pie, I'm mad about a custard pie. Slap it in your face. Rag on the top and you can hear the plop. Mad about a custard pie, I am. I'm mad about a custard pie. Have another suck of it, really make a luck of it. I'm mad about one more try. Mad about siphon, I'm mad about siphon side. Middle siphon, middle siphon, 20 minutes, then you really want to suck it, I'm mad about siphon thing. Anybody really like smells the water fish too? I'm mad about what now? Something about the rubber juicy fruit.
So that's Mavis. I hope you enjoyed meeting up with her again. She was a feisty dame for her time, and I wonder, will we ever see the likes of her again? Good night.
Our kitty's in bed? Good.
Everybody's having a go, girl. Are you tired of dreary chores like washing?
Actually, I'm smoking more and enjoying it less.
Cheerio, goodbye now. Fare thee well, adieu. So glad you came, see you again. We hope you will recall the name of the Mavis. Critical Mavis, Mavis. The Mavis Bramston Show.
Episode 1 complete.